baseball does have some more of the judgment of the balls and strikes.
Zone, yeah.
And we have the hands.
Yeah.
The never-ending debate about the hands.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of people get tripped up, is because they're not used to having to make that judgment on every single play.
Yeah. It's hard because it's a never-ending judgment call, but it's also a never-ending advancement of the rules of the hands. When did you start reffing?
I started reffing in 2015 for beach. I started reffing indoor in 2002, right when I graduated high school.
Okay. How much has your judgment of reffing and calling hands changed since 2015 to now?
I was one of those kids that would always grow up going to the Manhattan Beach Open, going to the Huntington Beach Open, the Hermosa, driving up to Santa Barbara when they had that event. And, the old adage of if it has more than a half a spin or a quarter spin, that's automatically a double. Right. You're not looking at the hands. And so that wasn't necessarily the case when I was starting. The FIVB had already kind of come in, and they weren't as loose as obviously they are now. But it was tending to kind of go that direction more, especially because that was when the college world was really taking off. It was a couple years before that, but that's when it was finally becoming an NCAA sport. It was getting actual scholarships. And so it was kind of the conundrum of, well, are we going to continue to try and maintain this elite level? Because volleyball is kind of an elitist sport when you get to the high levels. Much like tennis or soccer, you have the money to pay for coaches, or you have the money to live near a beach. And so, are we going to maintain that status quo, or are we going to let more of the everyday man play? Now you have people that are way inland. I mean, Texas is building a beach program. I don't know how close the nearest beach is to Texas.
They have a lot of facilities in Texas too.
Yes, but again, that's not beach. And so that's part of why, like the NCAA, they term it as sand volleyball. It's not beach volleyball.
Have they changed that? I thought they switched it. I know it was originally sand volleyball.
It has gone to beach now, but that's why it was termed sand originally, is that was their justification.
Got it.
I mean, even like a school like Long Beach State, which is 15 minutes from the beach, they have courts on campus.
Yeah, Florida State, we have them. I mean, we're not the closest beach that you could play on. It's probably an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a good program.
Yep.
But it's weird because when I play tournaments that are ref by players, particularly in Florida, it is way stricter.
I find the same thing. Yeah. And it's funny that you say that, because even refereeing a qualifier, there's different expectations of hands than there is a main draw.
Yeah.
And
because they expect it to be tighter.
They expect it to be tighter in a quali than we call it in a main draw. And we get guys that are complaining all the time that, there's a little bit of spin. Well, yeah, that works when you're not having someone stand right there just looking at the hands.
Right.
Like, that's my one job on that one contact. I'm not worried about, I got to keep score. I mean, during qualifiers, we are doing that, but my one job is to judge that play.
Yeah.
And so if I don't see that distinct 1-2, if there's not any sideways movement, then I'm probably not going to call it. If it's egregious and you come out with just one hand and not the other, probably going to call it.
Yeah.
But again, it's all judgment. And we can't go by spin. And a lot of people, kind of the old adage of, you used to come over the top.
Yeah.
Well, that's a double. I don't see a 1-2 in there. I see a bad set.
Right.
By a lot of people's terminology, but it's not an illegal set.
Right.
And so spin is an easy way when you're just playing the rec game or your own tournaments to kind of that's just the standard. There is no, hey, that ball spun. Like, it's an easier way to get out of.
Yeah. I always like people saying that spin is a potential indicator that a double has happened.
Yes.
But it does not mean, like, not all spin are doubles.
Yeah.
But most doubles will spin.
Well, and I like to bring up the idea of what happens if I hit a ball with one hand and put spin on it.
Right.
Is that a double?
Right.
No.
Brooke Niles gave me the craziest explanation. It exploded my mind. You can grab that if you want.
Sorry, that's...
You're good. You're good. Not the first time, not the last, Matt. Don't worry.
Kids are getting out of school right now, so that's the go pick them up.
Dad is priority one. See how dedicated Matt is, by the way? He's leaving his kids to come on the show.
Yeah, my wife can handle it for a day. Actually, she handles it a lot more than that because I end up traveling so much. But
yeah. But Brooke Niles gave me the craziest explanation. This was, years before I started coaching with her. She said, because I was down covering a tournament in Tallahassee. This was 2020 before COVID went nuts.
Yeah.
And because a ref called a ball kind of based on spin, and she goes, well, what happens when you roll a ball with spin against a wall? It's going to come back with spin.
Yep.
And she goes, can a wall double? It can't. It's just a flat surface. And I was like, blew my mind.
Yeah.
Changed my outlook on setting forever.
Yeah. And, again, it's getting that out there for people to kind of think about. Because for how many years was it, you see spin, you call it.
Yeah.
And so it's old school volleyball is kind of notorious for it, of wanting it to be the old tighter. And things change. The game grows. The game progresses. You're wanting to add a little bit more action. You're wanting the officials to be less involved. How many players on the World Tour now are jump setting?
A lot.
Yeah.
Big number.
And do you want to take that out of the game because there is a higher risk of them doubling the ball or even catching the ball, which is what the FIVB is more wanting to call now. But is that something that is going to attract fans by getting more involved, or will letting them play, letting them be athletes, letting them do the spectacular and enjoying themselves, is that going to be what brings more fans in? Right.
I think, man, it's so hard because there's the argument that you still want setting to be a skill.
Yes.
Which in indoor, what are your thoughts on the indoor rule change? And for reference's sake, for those who don't know, in NCAA indoor volleyball, doubles are no longer a thing.
As long as it stays on your side of the net. So if you're playing it to your teammate, then you can do pretty much whatever you want, as long as it is one attempt. If you're trying to set a teammate and you doubled it and it goes over the net, then it's automatically a double. It's not automatically, but
it's likely.
It is. That is when you would call it.
Okay.
So, and most second contacts, you're not going to have to worry about it because they're trying to set their teammates.
Yeah.
I was a setter in high school.
Okay.
And I think I had pretty good hands because this was... I graduated high school when it was still side-out scoring.
Where'd you go?
I went to a small private school called Village Christian up by Burbank.
Got it.
And then obviously went to Cal State Northridge afterward and was the libero there. But when I graduated high school, it was you could not play the ball with anything below the waist.
Okay.
Ball could not hit the net on a serve.
Okay.
Could not double the first contact.
Okay.
You could only serve in the right side 3 meters, the right side 10 feet.
Wait, for real? That was a rule?
Yeah, you didn't have the entire width of the court. There was hash marks.
Ping pong? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was hash marks that you had to serve between.
I'm learning something new today, Matt.
Well, we could go back even further, and the antenna used to be a ball width outside of the line.
What would the purpose of that be?
Because if it hits the line, it was in. So why, if it hits the antenna that's right above the line, is it all of a sudden out?
Huh. So now it's on like the outside of the line.
Yeah, so now it's on the outside of the line. But that's why they have on some of the indoors, there's the tape.
Yeah.
And then the antenna right next to the tape.
Got it.
Well, originally the tape was the line.
Yeah.
And then the antenna was a ball width
or
10 inches outside of the tape.
Okay. Huh. I'm loving this.
Yeah.
This is what we get when we have a debut podcast.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah, that's it.
Again, you could go back even to you weren't allowed to block over the net.
I think that's so funny. I think on the beach it's so funny because you had this masculine, in my mind, just stupid ethos where it was like, well, if you need to block. Yeah. When they changed it and you could press, like, well, if you need to block, you're a sissy.
But then at the same time, that was when you could block a serve. So you couldn't reach up and block over on the other side of the net.
Yeah.
But you could go up and block a serve, just not crossing into the other side of the net.
Could you attack it? Or did you just have
you could not attack it. You could only block it.
Straight up. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
if you got your serve blocked, then you deserve to get your serve blocked because that was
And if you're playing doubles and you're willing to take the risk
Right.
and come up to the net and have one person passing the whole court,
Yeah.
I think you should be allowed to do it.
Yeah. And good luck. Have fun with that.
Yeah, you know,
If you can do it.
high risk,
God
high
bless
reward.
you. Yeah. Yeah. So you have that argument of setting should still be a skill,
Yeah.
which I see. I think them taking it out of the indoor game. I've gone both ways. I get both
personally-
sides of it.
Personally, it comes down to me as an official, okay, what am I there for then? To an extent.
Yeah.
Because that is one of the biggest things. Obviously, you have things like touches and joust and
Right.
stuff like that are crucial to try and get right. But with the advent of CRS,
Right.
is that going to be necessary still?
Yeah.
You know, so many, they're adding more and more calls to it, and it's not, they have the bundle at the end of a rally where now if I just challenge touch as a ref, you have to look at touch, in, out, and net. And if
Yeah.
any one of those things happen, then it's the other team's ball. Then you win the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, where is the progression of the CRS going to go?
Yeah.
And if you don't know what CRS is, it's the challenge replay system that the NCAA uses both in the men's and women's indoor games.
Thank you for that. That was my next question. Because I get the side of the people who want setting to be a skill, and you don't just want people chucking it and whatever. And then I get the side, but when I watch indoor, and I don't watch a lot of indoor, but when I watch the NCAA, the setting's trash anyway. They juggle sets all the time, and it went uncalled when it was a rule. And so what I want to know is how many points is that actually going to affect by taking it out of the game?
So they did a couple preseason tournaments where they tested it out, and we as officials were requested that we keep track of, well, I would call that ball. Mm-hmm. So how many balls would you have called? And in turn, then how many of those rallies where you would have called that set did the other team end up winning? So did it end up going to the right team?
I love that you guys did that, yeah.
And so it was like 82% of the time when there was a mishandled set on one side that we would call most of the time. 82% of the time, the other team would win that rally.
So the team that would have won the rally had you called it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you still, now you have the potential for some spectacular plays. You have the potential for more rallies.
Yeah.
And again, are you going for growing the game fan-wise, or are you going for pleasing the old timers that, I won't even say old timers, because I like the cleanliness of the game and the skill of the game that it requires. So,
and most good setters are going to set clean anyway.
Yeah.
Micah Christensen, he's going to set clean whether doubles or a rule or not.
And if you ask most hitters, especially on the beach, what's easier to hit? A ball that was cleanly set or a ball that was doubled?
A nice set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you're hurting your own team in essence by not having good fundamentals.
Yeah. And then you have the jump sets where I think that, because I think the way that it's called on the beach right now, they're going heavy on lifts internationally.
Yes.
AVP is tighter on the doubles, I think. Americans just have low and slow hands, especially the college chicks.
Yes.
Man, they give it that ball some love before they throw it out. But jump setting, I think, because it is such an advantageous skill to have, I think that the jump set should still be called strict.
I would tend to agree.
Yeah.
I don't see the FIVB doing that at this point. Again, because they want the viewership.
Yeah.
And
that makes sense. I get that argument.
It's hard to justify on both ends. Mm-hmm. You know, there's an argument for each way.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they tell us what we get to call and we get to enforce it.